yeah.
Candid with
I'm really excited for you to check out this interview.
Candid with Kimbra.
Hey, y'all. I hope everyone is taking a moment to enjoy the day, maybe listen to the podcast, and perhaps learn something new, hopefully. We have a special guest. Her name is Stacey Silberman. Today we're going to talk about something that I don't have personal experience with because I don't have kids, but I'm around kids a lot. And Stacey Silberman is an author, and I don't know if she's written any other books. We're going to find out today because I haven't talked to her in a while. I met her, a few years ago. I don't even know how many years ago at a social event, and we kind of became friends through like social media. And I know she had some things happen to her, which she'll talk about today, which inspired her to write a book. It's called Stop Screaming at Your Kids, which is a very specific title. And we're going to talk about what inspired her to write the book and also how she came up with the title. And I'm sure I'm going to learn something new today. And I hope you do too. So please welcome my guest, Stacey Silberman.
Welcome to my podcast where I'll be speaking with guests candidly about interesting topics. So join me on Candid with Kimbra.
Technical issues aside, I want to welcome Stacey Silberman to my podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And I haven't seen you for a while. And I was trying to think about how we met, and it was at this function. I remember it was, on the West Side.
It was when I had my business called the Gold Party Girls.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
And I was buying gold all those years ago.
Yeah, and you bought some. My friend Joan Marlowe she's unfortunately not with us any longer. She just passed, at the end of last year, So, but I remember we had a party at her house, and then you came. That's right. I totally forgot about all that.
Yeah.
Stacey Silberman, what was it called?
The Gold Party Girls.
Oh, that's right. That's when gold was all the rage. I mean, gold is always.
The rage right now, the price is double what it was all those years ago.
Oh my gosh. I think I've sold most of my gold, but I'll have to look. So anyway, I want to thank you for coming on, and I felt so bad, because I've seen little things you've posted about your son, Max, right? And I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, how could that be? I mean, because he was so young, and he was such an interesting guy. I mean, I never met him, but I saw he was doing a lot of modeling, right? Wasn't he doing a lot of modeling?
He was, yes.
Yeah, and how old was he when he passed?
He was 25.
Oh, okay, got it. So I know we're going to talk about all that and your book. First of all, how did you come up with that title? Stop Screaming at Your Kids. There's your book. So are you self-publishing? Are you with a publisher?
I'm self-publishing on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll put a link for sure underneath this video. We're on YouTube, but also the podcast playground. People can just listen, audio. So how did you come up with the title, first of all?
So I was on this journey to become a TEDx speaker, and I started that like 2 years ago in September, 2 years ago this month. Mm-hmm. And I was going through, and it's a lot of work, and you have to go through a lot of ideas to get to what you want to talk about. My motivation for doing it in the first place was my son, Max, was his death.
Sure.
And I had been working in a recovery center for drug and alcohol abuse as a chef. Right after COVID, right in the end of COVID, I got really bored and took a job working as a chef because I'm a good cook.
Right.
And I saw a lot of patterns in how the addicts talked about, difficult childhoods and how they were parented and how they were treated. And some had a lot of ADHD and things like that, a lot of trauma. And so it got me thinking, and I just had this idea to write a book about parenting. And I had learned a lot working there, and I had been a parent, obviously I've been parenting for over 30 years. And I have a grown daughter now who's 28, and the parenting never stops. And so I was talking to somebody about how to go about the book. And I was talking about my father and what a screamer he was, and that he was like a monster, and that he scared us, and we weren't secure. We didn't have secure attachments. There was no trust. He was just a monster.
Where was your dad?
So,
where were you raised? What state?
I was raised in Encino, California.
Oh, really? A Valley girl. All these years later, she's still
like totally.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So your dad, was he born in California, or did he come from somewhere else? Or
both of my parents, believe it or not, were born and raised in Los Angeles.
Wow. Okay.
I know, it's very unusual.
They missed that the whole hippie thing then, like be mellow.
Yeah, they missed it. I was born in 1962, so I'm a Gen Jones, which is between Gen X and boomers.
Got it.
We had a very weird generation. Like, we survived everything. We're like cockroaches, apparently.
True. So I was talking about that to a friend of mine, because she didn't know the different, lines of the years, but it also kind of crosses over, and you're on that cusp of, like your dad, I guess, would definitely, is he still with us, your dad?
No, he's not with us.
If he was with us, he would be, I guess, would he be the silent generation, your dad? Or, because I know the silent generation.
Let's see. My father was born in, I think, like 1928 or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
1927
or is it the greatest? I don't know. There's one that's called the greatest generation, but I guess your dad was.
It was basically Depression era,
Right.
and yeah, it was not a good time, I don't think, for most people.
So okay. So your dad sounds like he had you a little older though too, right? Did he have you a little older?
I believe he was in his 30s.
Oh, well, that's not too old.
He had me. Yeah, I mean, he was a bad father, really bad.
I'm sorry.
But
And
I mean,
what about
there's a lot of bad parenting out there, and part of it is cultural.
Sure.
So, that's part of, I don't talk about it as much in the book, but I do talk about it when people bring it up, because our cultural norms dictate a lot of how we raise our children. And everybody wants to kind of conform, for the most part. And conforming meant control for the most part. That's changing now. Anyway, I won't go too far with that, but that's basically, this book is about going from control to connection, because control doesn't raise great children. It just makes them afraid to not conform. And then they're not critical thinkers, which is not good for our world.
I don't think control is good for anything. I mean, control, even for the person that's controlling, I mean, it's not healthy, because my mother was a little bit controlling in her own way. I mean, she wasn't a screamer or mean or anything like that, but it wasn't good for her own health, because she was such a perfectionist that life is not perfect. And if to be a good teacher, you have to, one thing I was observing in your book, at least the first part of it was, what did you say? Something like you would rather do this than this, not school grades have to be the best, but understand.
Oh yeah, what I was saying is that when I was raising my kids, I thought that, they had to be good students, they had to get good grades, they had to do their homework. Like, that was like the thing that needed to get done, because that was the mandate. But it actually creates a lot of mental bad health for children, because if I would have prioritized my son's mental health and happiness, I would have probably let that stuff go and been like, yes, we can't be disruptive, but your grades don't matter. That's not going to make or break you. What's going to make or break you is whether you're mentally healthy and happy, and that you're well adjusted and you're emotionally intelligent, and that you can get along with people.
That's interesting. Yeah, emotionally intelligent. That's a big one. And mental health is definitely the top priority over everything, Now, was your son ADHD? Is that what they call it? ADHD?
He was ADHD. And at that time, they didn't really diagnose it very well. They didn't know as much about it. So he didn't really get diagnosed until he was 15. And by that time, a lot of damage is already done, because children who have ADHD It's not that they're not smart or not that they can't do things. They just don't do things the same way as mainstream kids. And so if we don't fit into the box, then we are scolded. We are told we're not good enough. We're told we're bad. We're told, I had it too, that we are not smart. We're just criticized 200% more than the average child throughout their whole school career. And that's a known fact. That's an actual fact. 200% more criticism than the average child. So they basically grow up to kind of like not like themselves. Because if everybody else says I'm this, I must be this. And it kind of destroys their lives.
Now, your son, Max, he OD'd, right, on something?
He did. Max had an anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and depression. And they tried to diagnose him with bipolar disorder, but ADHD can actually mimic bipolar. So it's kind of hard sometimes to actually figure out what it is and then how to properly treat it. But I'd say that because he had a lot of trauma in his childhood from different things, including my screaming. Like I take responsibility for that I was a screamer. I learned it from my father. And that's what the book is about too. What we model to our children is what they learn.
Right.
They look at us very closely, and we could say something, but if we do something different, they're not going to listen to what we say. They're going to listen to what we do.
Sure. Now, did he start taking drugs like in his teenage years, or do you know when?
I believe that it started probably around 14. A very typical time for teenagers to delve into things. He probably started smoking some pot, young. When pot wasn't as strong as it is now. I mean, pot's like pretty significantly stronger at this point. But I later found out that he was friends with somebody whose mother was actually supplying drugs to these kids when he was probably around 15. And I didn't find that out until he died. So I had no idea when I was bringing my son to this parent's house thinking the mother's home, it's going to be okay. Because I did think that, I did think, I want to make sure there's some parental oversight because kids, they get into trouble, they find trouble. They're going to do things when nobody's watching. And I did always at that age especially know that they needed to be monitored. Turns out this woman was a drug pusher.
Oh my God.
And she was getting all these kids addicted to all kinds of who knows what. And turns out she was a heroin addict. And then she lived in Bell Canyon, a very nice community.
Sure.
Was well-to-do, came from, what I thought was a good family. Because you don't know, like, that's why you have to be so careful. Like, you don't know who your kids are going to, and you think that you can trust somebody, but it's sad because it makes the world an unsafe place as a parent.
Was she the mother? Did you say this already? Was she the mother of someone that that Max was hanging out with, or was she just?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she was a mother of one of the kids, and I mean, she's dead now. She died of a drug overdose not long after Max passed away. And let me tell you something. When I found out at his, like, basically when he died,
right?
Like the kids that were friends with Max that were there and kind of supporting us after he passed away, they were there. There were a few of them were like really sweet. They want to keep secrets. The kids think that keeping these secrets is helping their friends. But the one thing I learned out of his death is that secrets kill.
Sure.
Secrets are not helping your friends. You think you're ratting them out, you're saving their lives. And kids should know that sometimes telling somebody something is helping your friend save their life in a world that's kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
So had those kids told me, or even my own son told me what was going on. And even years later, when I came in contact with that woman through my gold business, he still didn't tell me. And I know he had a weird feeling about her, but he didn't tell me. I was so upset about that. But anyway, it's crazy.
That's so sad. So when he passed, then fast forward a little bit to COVID, because it was before COVID, right?
Yeah, he passed away in June of 2017. So it was at the beginning of the fentanyl problem. So
Mm,
when he passed away, fentanyl had just surfaced, and I believe that it was fentanyl poisoning that killed him
mm,
because he liked to use. So I was saying that his condition was anxiety disorder, panic disorder,
right.
depression. So his drug of choice was Xanax.
Oh, okay.
And so he used Xanax, and Xanax is a very dangerous, benzodiazepines are a very dangerous drug. It's over the counter, it's prescription. A lot of people use it, but you easily build up a tolerance. And so therefore the doctors would never be just prescribing enough. And they weren't as aware of how dangerous it was back then. Maybe they were, but they still did it.
Mhm,
Just, you know how our world is.
mhm.
And so he would get pressed pills from drug dealers that were supposedly Xanax. And so what happened is the drugs were being laced with fentanyl at that point, but it was the very, very beginning of it. So the coroner didn't test him for fentanyl. They just,
Mhm.
it was heart stopped. Like they really didn't have an explanation, but it was a drug.
Where was he when they found him? Was he,
He was in our house. He lived with us. He was in his own room. My husband and daughter were the first ones to see him. I was home too. And so, yeah, we basically found him at home. I mean, and if you're going to have somebody pass away, I'd rather him be at home where we know we're going to take care of the situation and not like have some I hear terrible stories of people just being left and not being discovered. And that's even worse.
I know. I have a cousin that's not the same situation, but he had a heart attack. He'd been doing cocaine for years, and then he kind of got his life together. But then he was taking like anti-anxiety medication, and so then he had maybe a heart attack. So I know it was we all loved Brian too, because he was always the life of the party, and he was just so it's so sad when you hear about these people and they die young. And I always felt bad for my aunt. Her son died before before her. And so I know that's
Yeah.
just like they always say, that's like the saddest thing for a parent, right?
It's
So,
definitely a hard thing to deal with. And, you can either choose to crawl under a rock and never get through it because,
mhm,
we all have to go through grief
sure.
and go on our journey and, do all the pleading, with God and waking up, wondering if that really happened. And these are some of the things that happen with grief. And then at some point you might get to the point, depending on who you are, of saying, well, what could I do to honor my son's life?
Sure.
What could I have done better, before he died? Like, what do I wish I did? And so that's kind of how this came about. Like, it was a long journey of discovery.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. So this is a great thing that you're doing for yourself too. It's very cathartic to, first of all, write a book, but also finish a project and something you're trying to help other people, but at the same time, you're helping yourself, you know? And
Absolutely. I mean, even the first year when I was looking to do the TEDx talk, which I haven't done yet because I kind of put it aside when I did the book because they're both a lot of work.
right.
I had to go through all of this revisiting a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
it is very emotional. It was super emotional. That's why it took me longer because it was such an emotional subject. And I wasn't remotely near a parenting book when I started. My title for my speech was going to basically be ADHD, anxiety, addiction, and death. So it was
Oh, wow.
going more down the problem road
Right.
as opposed to the solution road.
Right.
And as I went through it, I went more from this is the problem to this is the solution, or these are some things that we can do. So the book is basically like trying to get ahead of addiction.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
so
that's so good because first of all, Western, this isn't really the same thing, but Western medicine, we need to concentrate more on prevention as opposed to like once the person is sick. So I guess it kind of is because so with Max, was he self-medicating because he was upset about things, or was it because he had an addictive personality, or both? Do you know?
All of the above, all of the above. So a lot of people with ADHD have like this risk-taking gene, and they've actually found it. I mean, this is research that's been going on for the last several years. And so part of taking drugs is taking a risk. You're risking, and you
Wow.
know that this is really dangerous and it could kill you, but you're doing it anyway because, you're like, I'm going to take that risk. And so
Sure.
the whole thing about ADHD is you get a dopamine hit. We're short on dopamine when we have ADHD, and doing the risk taking kind of gives you more dopamine, or it makes you feel like you're getting a dopamine hit. So it's almost like whether your addiction is shopping or drugs or
Sure.
sex or whatever, it kind of gives you a dopamine rush. Like even when I was buying the gold, people selling their gold got like a dopamine rush from it. They'd get so excited. And I actually sold some of my gold recently because the price went so high. I was like, I hadn't sold gold in years because I've been out of that business for a long time.
Right.
And I got so excited. I was like, ah. So anything that we do that's kind of a risk or like exciting or an addictive thing,
Sales,
it's gonna affect us, like short-term excitement. So he was treating himself for his anxiety. He was not feeling good about himself, and he liked to be in a numb state, a state of numbness, like not having to deal with the realities of how he felt, whether it be about himself. Max did really well as a model.
Yeah.
But he damaged his career because he used drugs.
Oh, wow. See, that's a cautionary thing right there, because you always hear about those supermodels back in the day that were like, what was that famous one? Gia, the one that Angelina Jolie did the movie about.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Gia,
Right.
I can't think of Karanji, I think her last name was, but
Right. But it's rampant in the business because there's also the eating disorders and
yeah.
everything's about image. But it's also being in the modeling and acting business, as you know, is a pretty, there's a lot of bad players, and as a male model, the photographers oftentimes were the bad players.
Did Max ever tell you about stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
There's some very bad sexual predators in that business. Oh yeah.
I know. I did some modeling.
Going after the boys, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I did some modeling, and I experienced that with photographers coming after me, and I was so young and naive, I just ran out of the studio. I was like, and I never went back. Because
it's almost like it steals your soul, and it definitely, like, he did really well, and I'm sure, Max could be opportunistic at times, so like to a degree he went with it.
Right.
What worked for him, but I think there came a point for him where he just told me, Mom, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
I just can't. It's just too oppressive. And it got to him, and I was like, I didn't understand it. I mean, I didn't know everything at the time.
Sure.
And I was like, wow, you're so good at this. Like, he was such a natural with the camera, and he had so much potential.
And the camera loved him,
Camera loved him, but like there's those other things that ruin it.
Yeah. Well,
so that's like kind of where he was. So he was trying to figure it out. He was like out there trying to do things and trying to, he had a girlfriend who he had for like on and off for 7 years. So they were kind of had a, she enabled him a bit, and, we all enabled him a little bit, because there's like that fine line between, like being there for them. I don't believe in the tough love model. That does not work. Throwing your kid out or throwing somebody out onto the street, because drug addiction is a disease.
Sure.
It's an affliction. And yes, it can be overwhelming, and there are times where you have to find another way to deal with these people, with the people that deal with this. But it doesn't necessarily mean throwing people out in the street, because the worst problem that they have is they don't feel loved. They don't feel like anybody loves them or cares about them. They've got this victim complex, basically. So that's part of it.
It's so sad, because you guys seem like such a neat family. I remember when I met you, and then when I saw Max was doing the modeling, I thought, well, that's so, because he seemed so hip,
Well, he was, and and we love our kids, and all that. But there's certain things, like he was 25 years old, and he was living with us But, when he was using, he would go to his girlfriends. And, the kids had secrets among them that they knew things that we didn't. And right before he did pass away, he did come to us and he said, I'm having a problem again. Because he had gone through this, like we'd gone through like 10 years of this, and we'd put him in rehab, or we'd, dealt with it in different ways, over the years. Believe me, there were a lot of things where we tried to help him.
I have a lot of friends that are have found a lot of success with the AA programs, not just for drinking, but I have a few friends but it's like a whole commitment and lifestyle, So
it works for a lot of people, but it does not work for everyone.
That's true.
It depends on how you think. So, I do believe in AA for a whole lot of people. And the other thing about AA is it's a village.
Yes.
It's a community. And honestly, if nothing else, what the people who with addiction and alcohol and alcoholics need are community, because they feel alone.
It's true.
So having that really supportive community is like everything. And that's what that gives. And it gives the support, and it gives accountability. And it has a very strict program. But it's very, very militaristic in a sense of like this way or get out. You do follow this or you're not welcome. And that's the only downfall about it, because sometimes, they don't believe in anything, but it may be that for example, I've never taken anti-anxiety or depressive medications, but I do use ketamine as a treatment. And I've been doing it for about 2 years because I didn't realize that I had an anxiety problem.
Oh, ketamine is for anxiety?
It can be, and depression. So I just thought that I was really moody. But I realized after going through, because I went through a lot of I was in a lot of groups, through where I was working, I got free group. They're very good practitioners, like therapists, and it was offered to me for free. So I was doing a lot of that. And in my exploration of myself, which was a big part of this whole project, because I had to look at myself, I had to reparent myself, I had to recondition myself, I had to fix myself as best as I could, being that I was already in my 50s, late 50s. I realized oh my God, I have anxiety, but I never knew what it really felt like.
Now, I want to ask you, Stacey, how is this writing the book and what you know now, how has it helped you with your daughter? What's your...
I still struggle with my daughter, to be honest. I've done everything under the sun to apologize for anything, all the things I did wrong, or not always, maybe realizing certain things, because we don't always realize things. And she has her own stuff. She's just an individual. I don't want to give away too much of her privacy.
Sure.
But we're okay, but it could be better, to be honest. It could be better. And I'm working on it because she's 28, so she has to deal with her stuff. So the way I kind of deal with it now is, rather than heavily engaging with her about it, I'm kind of letting it work itself out until I have hired a therapist to be like an intermediary for us in the past. And that really did work. And it was the right time. The timing was good. But I have to wait until the timing is right, when I have an intuitive feeling that it's right for her and she's ready to work on it as hard as I am.
Right.
Because none of this is a one-way street.
Right. Well, that's good. It's, but what you're doing is so great, because you're looking at yourself and you're looking at yourself what could I have done differently? That's why part of the reason it inspired you to write the book. So what kind of feedback are you getting about the book from your friends or anybody that's read it?
It's so funny because the person I wrote it with, because I had somebody help me, because it's a lot of focus and getting things done.
Discipline. It's discipline.
It was nice to have somebody work with me and help me to get it out.
Right.
He thinks it's brilliant.
Well, of course.
I'm not even sure my husband has read the whole book. And I'm trying to get, it's I wasn't super aggressive. So I think now that I have the actual physical copies, and I've sent the book to people like I did to you, and most people don't want to read a whole book on like an email. It's harder to read
Sure.
it.
I would print it. I'm going to print it out though, because I do better.
Oh, I'll just give you a copy of the book.
Oh, well, okay, maybe, but we'll talk. But
It's a lot of paper.
I know. Like when I read scripts, I always print them out because, it's just too, I mean, I can read it on a computer. Well, once I decide it's good, then I print it out,
I mean, the thing about this book, I haven't really gotten we gave it to somebody who's a professional in the field. She thought it was really good.
Right. I read that review.
It was really good. And I would love to hear from the average parent who I haven't really gotten that feedback yet. So I've been giving out a few copies, and it just went on Amazon Books. Like, it really became available about a week ago, maybe a week and a half, because that was the difficult thing. Like, technically, it took me like 3 months to get it on Amazon.
Right.
I couldn't figure it out. Finally, I hired someone to help me with that. So I was focused more on trying to get that done than doing the marketing of the book, which I need to get more on TikTok. I need to do more podcasts. I need to be more putting things out. But I haven't really gotten a lot of feedback yet. So I would love, I will
be giving you feedback because I've only read the first like 10 pages.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. So like, I'm not one to like push people about these things. And I think I do need to be a little more aggressive if I'm going to get that. But I'm hoping that as it gets out there and people are just buying it, and friends of mine are telling me I'm buying it. There's one family in particular who I spent some time with, and, talked to her about her kids, because her kids are all kind of different. And I was having that talk with her about you change your perspective on what's important.
Sure.
Don't make grades and school homework and that kind of thing the priority. Think about your kids' mental health. Think about them being happy. And, if you have to let some of that go, I think you should, because you're just going to get frustrated and angry, and you're going to damage your relationship with your children. And they really need you to be their biggest advocate, to be like, hey, it's okay. Like, you're still really smart. And they are.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be the most perfect students at school because, they're happy or they're energetic, and that's how I was.
And you brought it up too. You said, what did you say? Social intelligence. A lot of kids don't have social intelligence, especially.
That's more important. Like in some of these countries, like they're talking about Japan and Finland, a couple of countries where they don't even give kids tests or anything like that until fourth grade level, or until they're somewhat, or I forget the age, but until they're somewhat older, because they spend all the time on peer connection, on learning how to play with kids, learning how to connect with other people, and on, whether just social norms or just getting acclimated to being in the system of a school or whatever. I mean, they put a lot on these little children.
Well, I think now more than ever, too, that's important, because they say, especially with boys, I don't know if it was with Max, probably it wasn't this way, but, they say with boys and teenage boys, they're having such a hard time making friends and being social, because it's different before pre-computer games and computers, right? That people spend a lot of time, hanging out and going to parties and driving. And now boys are having a harder time being social, and they'd rather just stay in their room.
Right, or just connecting with other humans, connecting with boys, connecting with the girls. And then if they get to a certain age, for example, and they can't connect with the girls, they feel like such losers, and they feel left out. And how come, I don't have a date for the prom, or there's all this weird stuff that happens in their head. And then they have that toxic masculinity problem, like from the movie, the Adolescence that just came out, that whole scene.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
That's even a little different than what, obviously my book isn't about that at all, but that toxic masculinity where a 13 or 14-year-old kid is just so angry that they actually kill another child.
Sure. Well, it's not related to your book, but it's related in the sense of kids having problems with their self, but also with other people, taking out their issues. Max took things out on himself, it sounds like, but a lot of kids take it out on other kids because they don't know how to channel their frustration, their anger,
Yeah, my kids were never bullies, thank God,
Right.
because that's something I would have never tolerated. Like, and there's in no way, shape, or form would I be even like anywhere okay with any behavior of that nature. But the bottom line, like in that movie, was basically the father was modeling some of that behavior too. So like the modeling, like the biggest thing in life is the behavior that we model. Like parents need to be leaders to their children.
True.
Like you're in a leadership position as a parent. And if you want to raise so emotionally intelligent is the best term to use, because emotionally intelligent children and adults are the ones who succeed the most in life. So it doesn't matter that you went to like Harvard or Yale or at the top tier schools. If you lack emotional intelligence and you can't function on teams or among peers and with work people, you're not going to succeed. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just not going to work.
Good point.
And that's the missing thing, that they don't put enough into that idea. I think the kids don't have enough playtime. They don't have enough downtime. And then we're squeezing them into all these activities, which I did too. I mean, I kept my kids busy and we did a lot of things. We tried a lot of things. I wanted to see what they excelled at.
Right.
And when I saw that they didn't excel at something, then, we said, we're not going to do that. I mean, including like both of my kids basically refused to go to Hebrew school. Like they just wanted no part of it. And it was a huge fight. I just decided, you know what? We don't have to, I'm not going to do it. Like, why am I doing this? Like, it wasn't that important to me, even though like when they got to be, well, they didn't get to have the big bat mitzvah and have a big party.
Right.
Well, I'm like,
because
well,
you have to know how to speak a little bit of Hebrew, right? During your bar mitzvah.
But I mean, part what that leads up to is like, of course, it's a coming of age thing. It's like where you go from being a child to like kind of into the concept of being an adult, or an older, or at a certain different point in your life where you have to take more responsibility. But it's like you go through all this learning and then you get to have a big party. Well, if you didn't do all that, I'm sorry, you don't get to have a big party.
You don't get the party. That's a good point, right? Well, yeah, well, it was good that you let it go, because, then if your daughter wants to explore that in her later life, she probably will, I mean, if she gravitates towards learning Hebrew or religion or whatever,
I started exploring religion a little bit more when he got older, and he'd like seek out, sometimes he'd go talk to rabbis, and like he'd meet a rabbi in a park. Like he'd tell me, so I met this rabbi, like a religious rabbi, and he met him in the park and started talking, and I really liked him, and we just sat and talked for a while. And Max was really interesting. So he was really good at relating to younger children. So like when he was, after he graduated high school, he got like a lifeguarding certification. And so he was teaching little kids how to swim and interacting with little kids. And he seemed to love that. And he was very good at it. He was super sweet. And then he was also really good with older people. He had a harder time with the peers in his own age group when he was younger.
Yeah.
And so that's why I know and I understand all this. Well, that gave him, he had a best friend in school. He did have it's always important that they have at least one friend that could count on, to be there for them, and they have to talk to. But like he didn't have he wasn't like a popular kid. He's a good looking boy. He didn't have the popularity because of the troubles that he had in school. I think parents didn't want their kids around him.
Yeah.
He was this boy, and he'd go to people's homes like, oh my God, your kid has the best manners. Like, what a lovely young man. But there was that other side. So that was part of it for him. I know that's a thing. Kids need to feel included, connected, and like they're part of their community.
Sure.
When they don't, things get ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just so sad that happened to him. But so getting back to your book, I hope it is very successful, because I want to, I know it's so hard and long to write laborious to write a book. It takes a lot of discipline, but people can get it on Amazon, right?
Get it on Amazon, and I will give you the links.
Yeah. And also, are you going to do any like book fairs or anything like that? I don't know.
I would like to start doing like going to bookshops, like small bookshops, or trying to get in and doing book signings or like book readings. I even started doing a little like reading chapter here and there, not a whole chapter, but a little bit on TikTok. So I need to do like lives, but I would love to do like book fairs and local bookshops in LA, start there and then work my way out.
I did,
But I
I
haven't
did
done
some
it
of that.
yet.
Yeah, I did some of that a while back when I wrote a story for a book, and I went with the author and we did a couple of readings, and it's kind of fun because then you sell your book there too. And how long?
And it's fun to come in contact with people.
Yeah,
To come in contact with the people that are out there. I mean, that's where I get very passionate. I love to talk to people.
And Stacey, this is such a problem. There's so many people that are addicted to things, because I know, like I said, a couple of people in AA, and so it's just such a problem, and in LA, in Orange County, and in a lot of different places, so it's something, but the parents need to know how to deal with it without, like you said, totally kicking them out or not dealing or yelling at them. Right.
They need to know like better ways, more updated ways to deal with children who have addiction problems, because it could go one way or another. It could go really down a dark road. And then once they're gone, they're gone. Like there's no taking it back. So you can't be like, I really regret I did it this way. I wish I had made this decision. But you need the right people to help you make those decisions. We didn't really have a lot of that when my son was young.
Right.
And like we sent him to Utah. He went through a lot of different things. Believe me, you have no idea.
I'm sure.
Good. They all ended up being bad. And if you know anything about like what the Paris Hilton went through, going to one of those places, they're evil. They're actually pretty terrible. And
I heard about that. I heard about that. But
that's just more trauma for the child. It's like trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. And then we never know also the traumas that kids go through that they never tell their parents about. And it could be small things or it could be big things. We don't know.
Well, anyway, I've really enjoyed having you on, and I have to get to my next thing. So
thank you so much for the time, Kimbra. It's so nice to see you. Look great.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to help you because my heart went out to you when I saw those things about Max, and then I thought, how good that you wrote a book, and that but you need to get it out there, and maybe you'll write another book. You never know.
One thing I want to say about the book to everybody out there is the book, in my mind, I always wished I had like kind of a manual, something that I could go to for reference for different issues. The book is laid out in that way. So it's not like tons of text where you have to find it. It's easy to go through and find what you need.
It's an easy read. You think it's pretty easy.
It's an easy read, and you don't have to go in order. You could skip around, like right now I'm having a problem with this. You go to that chapter, and there's exercises that you can do to help get into the habit of doing those things and making the changes.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. All right. Well, you'll send me the link and I'll have it beneath the YouTube video.
Thank you so much. I will send it to you right after.
Yeah, keep me posted about everything.
Thank you so much, Kimbra. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Candid.